Well, this is Unpivot, and I am not appearing on the screen.
You're frozen.
This is why we don't do live streams for the very first few episodes.
I can hear you, all right?
Or,
Can't see you.
yeah, okay. That's good for the podcast. That's all right. I'll try and find my picture.
Face, that's not too bad.
Okay, it's just showing blank on
mine. It could be a lot
mine.
worse, couldn't it? Resting wind
Excellent.
face.
Excellent. All right, I'll try and get back on there in a second. Let's just do the introductions. Welcome to Unpivot, the show for Excel and Power BI people and anyone who loves chatting about data. I'm Hopkins.
I'm Mark Proctor.
I'm Sue Bays.
And I'm Giles, like Cher.
Excellent work. Right, talking amongst yourselves, will I have a bit of a technical challenge here?
I was going to say, if you haven't watched or listened to the last episode, I just sound weird saying that, but there's context from the last intro.
Well,
you do need to watch.
Are there any other famous Gileses in the world?
Oh, loads.
There's Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's the only one I'm aware of. Am I showing my age there? Do we all remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, don't remember Giles, though.
Oh,
don't remember. I don't remember Giles in Buffy.
God.
No.
Other than that, don't know.
Right, so what's news? What's anybody blogs, life? Should we start with life first?
Go on, Sue. She was gesturing.
Yeah. I'm excited about paginated reports. Do you want me to do life? Life's cool. Been swimming, been running, been to Greece. Woo-hoo-hoo. Loving life. Paginated
How was Greece?
Oh, Greece was amazing. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Nice.
Very hot.
I just wanted to ask because I've actually been to Bali, so I've got some comeback. If I'd been sat on my own for, in the house for 2 weeks, I wouldn't have asked a follow-up question, but I was just leading you guys in to go, oh, Bali win. Right,
yeah, no, Greece was lovely. How was Bali?
Bali was very nice too. Thank you very much. Right, paginated reports.
Paginated reports. So right, I don't know if people know about Excel about paginated reports, but paginated reports are basically like they allow you to build PDF versions of data. So in Power BI, you can only print what's on the screen. So paginated reports are a way to have data that goes out more than one page. And Report Builder is a bit faffy to use and quite old. And so there's been a lot of energy in being able to create reports from Power BI service. But one of the key things you couldn't do is you couldn't add a filter field in Power BI service. You have to go into Report Builder to do it. And you can now within seconds. And it's brilliant. And anyone that uses Report Builder and paginated reports will be very, very excited.
So is that in, because it's on the service, that means it's not in preview, it's just there. Is that right?
It's there.
It's just there.
It's there.
Yeah, depending on your tenant.
Depending upon
might
your tenant.
Not be in every country around the world right as of this second, but it'll appear.
Yeah.
Generally, I just had a quick look. It's there for me, which is rare. Normally it's not.
I've done a very quick little LinkedIn post to show how to do it. So
nice. I didn't know about it, Sue, until you just sent me an email about it. I was like, oh wow, that is cool.
But I was working with my customer, working at automating a process, and I was like, oh, if we put it into here, and I went, oh, I'm gonna have to do. Oh, look what I can do!
Yeah.
So it's very exciting.
So I guess for the Excel, users out there who want to export to Excel, the paginated report can export to Excel as well.
Yeah.
So, and you can actually pretty much do unlimited. Let's say you want to use Power BI to pull in a whole bunch of CSV file data into one massive data set or data table. You could use then a paginated report to either export to Excel or to CSV. I tested it with 10 million rows a while back.
Yeah.
And it took a while, but it did export it.
I think
there's some nice use cases.
Yeah. That's one of the key things, is to make sure that you can, export many, many, many rows of data. It's just brilliant.
They hid that one at the bottom of the blog post, didn't they?
I know. But I saw it somewhere. We were talking about staying up to date the other week. And, and you think sometimes you just have to glance things and just register without going to. And I remember seeing it and thinking, oh, so found it.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
I think Do you think with the Excel team and the Power BI team, do you think they sometimes just don't realize how important some of the little things are? And they sort of raise up some of the more fancy stuff to the top, and then they make all these little changes in the background, and you just go, when did that happen? And why don't they shout about it? Because it impacts so many people.
Well, do you three get a sense from that? Because you're in touch through the MVP route, aren't you, with the Microsoft team? Do you ever get a sense of where their heads at with priorities for updates?
I mean, I'm only a new MVP, so it's difficult to say. But I think sometimes, there is a drive for exciting AI-driven things, which you can understand is exciting to work on. But quite often, many of the business, and I work with smaller businesses, so many of the businesses are, things like being able to add a filter without having to go into paginated reports is massive if you're using paginated reports.
Okay.
And it'll just save so much time for a lot of people.
I think a lot of this stuff, it depends on you have to understand what Microsoft's goal or strategy is. So because they are on their, at least this is just my opinion, by the way, they're on their cloud route, they're driving towards cloud, they want everything on to be their Power Platform and everything else. So in my opinion, they will always prioritize a feature that will be on cloud compared to other features that might be useful. So, for example, Python in Excel is a cloud feature. They're going to keep pushing through with that. They're going to push through with other features which are all help to benefit that cloud and Power Platform piece. But other things which are just niggles, which desktop users would love them to be fixed because they're not high on the priority chain. At some point they might get fixed, but at some point they might not be. So I think it's really about understanding Microsoft's strategy, what they want to do, and that's where the priorities come from.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, there's often little hidden gems that they don't announce really. Like Control-Shift-V place values in Excel.
Yes.
Or unhide all sheets. Those sorts of little things that used to be just big hassles are they're slowly picking away at them.
Interesting.
Any other news? What other news? Anything else happening, Giles? Mark?
I've got news.
Happening?
I've got Mark. You go
okay.
first. No, because you put your hand up, and I did that last time. Go on, you go.
I've got two bits of news. First of all, I've got a cold, so I apologise to anyone who's listening who thinks Mark sounds a bit croaky today. And having a cold is never good. But secondly, the other day I was on a tool that I use quite often. It's a cloud-based tool. I decided to be a good boy because I was reaching my limit of how many transactions I was allowed. So I went through the official tool of clearing down some of the older stuff that I no longer needed. And when I did that, the majority of my current stuff disappeared completely as well. So, yeah, exactly. So I then went through the help, like the help thing, which of course a chatbot comes up instantly. How can I help you? And you're like, you can't help me with this. Like literally, I mean, you're going to look through the documentation and tell me the fact this can't happen, or it doesn't happen, or it never happens, blah blah blah. So of course, I put in the most useful prompt you can put into a chatbot. Can I speak to a human?
Absolutely.
Which I mean, it did. It got me through to a human who told me the fact that that although they take backups of stuff, they make sure they back up, but they can't recover anything because it was my fault and I'd done it. It's like, hang on, no. Eventually, we went backwards and forwards a few times, and they eventually decided it was a bug on their side, and all the records are still there, but I just can't see them unless I do these specific filters that then display them to me. So I'm still waiting for them to fix this bug. I mean, it was thankfully, I mean, I'd kept backups of stuff just in of files just to make sure, but equally when it just kind of 10,000 rows of stuff just disappears, you're just kind of like that was a bad afternoon, combined with my cold, it wasn't going well. But thankfully, the stuff is all there. I just can't see it. So
use it.
Today, when some cloud third-party provider says we take backups of everything, you don't need to worry. A, don't trust them because they're backing up for their purposes and not yours. So when you hash something up, it doesn't mean they're going to, oh, we will restore the backup, because it won't. That will restore backup for everyone. And equally, even if you do hash it up, which in this case was not my hash up, but even if you do, are they even going to help you, or just go, well, I'm sorry, you deleted it, it's your own fault. So there's some lessons that even though I said you must have logs of what's been deleted. And they're like, well, it's not in the delete log, so therefore we can't help you. It's not in the delete log because it didn't get deleted. But
right.
But equally, there's no log that says, haha, let's hide all these things from Mark. So that's my lesson for the week, and hopefully people can learn from that.
Is the lesson you should just always use Excel for everything? Is that what I'm hearing? Just don't ever step beyond Excel.
That's almost. I mean, if it were a tool that Excel could handle, then yes. But
I'm joking.
Do any of you
don't trust any systems?
Do any of you have backups of your SharePoint OneDrive site? Do you actually run backups of that, or you're relying on the SharePoint OneDrive holding?
I use SharePoint.
Yeah, but we now back up our SharePoint as well.
I think I'm going to start after this conversation. I will
just
start.
in case. I'm not judging that. I'm not saying it's SharePoint, but I'm just saying
it wasn't.
I didn't think we were backing it up. Right, it wasn't Microsoft.
It wasn't Microsoft at all. But equally, it was that I'd never even thought about backing up my SharePoint. Why would I, right? Until that happened on Tuesday, and I'm like, I need to keep hard copy backups of everything because you can't trust that, even if they say, yeah, we'll keep backups for you, but if your systems goes wrong, are you even going to help me? So that's my news. Giles, over to you.
Yeah, well, I didn't know whether you were all joking last time, but I've written a speech about LinkedIn. You tell me when.
No. Well,
that's not
how long does it go on for?
Oh, it's not that bad. I think I've been quite reserved, actually. If you see me going red in the face and start pumping my fist, then you know you're in trouble. But I think I'll be all right.
Can I just say one thing about SharePoint before you start? Yeah. Love version history in SharePoint. Love it. That you can go and click and, Yeah,
just pull it back up.
Yeah.
Save me a few times.
Yeah.
Well, Giles, we'll get to the LinkedIn rant. You can open up. That's the main topic for today. Well, the main topic for today is going to be online and offline community, and we'll let you open with a LinkedIn rant. But more importantly, even though I've been away, did I mention I've been away? Yeah.
Yes, early. Did you do any exercise?
If jumping off a boat wearing a snorkel and mask with 100 other people trying to see a manta ray and then getting kicked in the face by somebody's fin is a that's exercise, isn't it? Getting in and out of the boat.
That counts.
So that's about it, really. Oh, I did a couple of surfing lessons as well. Even though I can surf badly, and now I can surf slightly less badly. But that was my exercise for the holiday. Right, so I've got a new segment. Let's see if it takes off. Ooh. Question of the day. Okay, before we get into the main topic. And in honor of that new segment, I've even written a jingle. Okay, let's see what you think.
With cocktails or without?
Hold on, let's see. Let's listen to the jingle.
It's the question of the day. It's the question of the day.
All right, what do you think?
Beautiful. Good? Loved it.
Excellent.
It's got a nice sing-songy Wales part.
And that is quite special.
Oh, thank you. I think it's the first tech podcast ever to have a jingle, so I'm breaking ground here. All right, questions of the day.
Fade it out at the end. It just clipped. Bang.
Yeah, well, there is a fade out, but I just clip it. It's more fun. What is, in your career, maybe years ago. What's the biggest mistake you've made in work?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's less embarrassing.
So maybe going back some time or something you're just a bit embarrassed about. It doesn't have to be. Yeah. This is recorded, Giles.
I'm glad you clapped because my mind was instantly going back to that. No,
We've
first
had
10 things I can't
conversations that
share.
covers this.
Does anybody want to start?
Yeah. Oh, no, Mark. You can...
Mark put his hand up. Go on in, Mark.
I can start. So when I worked in audit, we used to go out to clients and audit their books, and there was one client who said, would it be easier? I mean, this is the early 2000s, so it was less common. Would it be easy if we just gave you a login to our system? To which I said, yeah, that'd be a lot easier. Thank you. That means we don't have to ask questions. We can find these things out ourselves. That's no problem. They said, have you used our system before? And I looked at that. Well, I've used one just like it. So my mouth said yes, but my brain said, not exactly like that one, but I'm going to say yes. And then it wasn't until whichever day we went in one day, and the CFO came up to me and said, "Did you log into the system yesterday?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Did you post our sales ledger for the month, even though it's now like the 15th?" And I'm like, "No, I wouldn't have done that." And he's like, "Well, did you click here?" I was like, "Yeah, I clicked there." "Did you click there?" "Yeah, I clicked there." "Did you click here?" "Yeah, I clicked there as well." "And did you click this button there?" "Yeah, I clicked that one as well." He said, "Yeah, you just posted our sales ledger for the month, and now we've got to go back and do all this stuff. We can either go for, I mean, they had a backup. So he's like, we can either go to the backup or we can fix it this way. Oh, blah, blah. So yeah, so on a client's accounting system, I managed to post transactions which they didn't want to be posted. So that was don't do that. That's, if someone says, have you used the system before, just say no. Just say no.
Gotcha.
Excellent.
So you had your hand up next. Go on, you go.
Yeah, I always say to people, give me the least access that you possibly can. I don't want to, So two things. One, my first job, I worked for Rank Xerox, and I was doing some documenting or something. And I sent out like a big folder of stuff on their email system, and told everyone to send it to the printer with the instructions. So the whole of the manufacturing site sent this document to the printer. This is like 20, 30 years ago. Everything ground to a halt, the whole system everywhere. Everyone just went nuts because it just couldn't cope with it. So that was that one. And then the other one, which I still cringe about a bit now, is one of the first Power BI reports I built. I built it in Power BI, back end, they talk about normalizing your data. In database terminology, you normalize it to tables. So if you think of an address table, in Power BI, you just have a table for addresses. In database terminology, normalization is you have a table for county, a table for town, a table for postcodes, and they're all unique, and they all spring from one to the other. And I did that in a Power BI report. So I had this massive star schema, and I couldn't understand why it was so slow and why my DAX was so complicated. And I was just like, but you're telling me I need to normalize. Not in Power BI. Power BI is normalization to the first. So
yes.
I still cringe a little bit about that.
So we should look back
I
and
did
cringe.
that as well on my first Power BI report. So I think it's
No,
and that wasn't even
It's
embarrassing. Therefore, you're okay, Sue.
I've got two. I've got a short one.
Yeah.
I once did the classic, sent out a report to a bunch of managers within a company, and there was a hidden column that included salary data for everybody in the company. Now, luckily, only one manager who I knew well spotted it and immediately emailed me and went, "Don't do this." But had anyone else spotted it, there would have been some interesting conversations, because obviously not everybody was paid the same. And then the worst one I ever did was on a big bid that I worked on. This is really hard to describe without going down too much of a rabbit hole, but 3 regions of the UK. So you bid for each of the regions, but then there's like an overall price as well you look at, and the way the government looked at it was there's a price per customer for this thing based on households in the UK, and they were targeting like you've got to get under £5 per household, whatever it is. And the denominator of my calculation for the price per household was wrong. It was fixed to the number of households in the UK in total, and it wasn't splitting down to the 3 regions. So when we did the first run of all the costs and the pricing, we were like, we're smashing this. We're like way under £5. We presented the numbers to the CFO Friday night, and we found it late Friday night. And we were supposed to basically submit everything on the Monday morning. So I just had to own up and say, hey, I've got this wrong. It's a formula error in the model. And luckily my team didn't throw me under the bus, but that was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
I love the fact you owned up and I owned up and said it's a formula error.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly that, Mark. It's not human error. It's not.
I owned up and I blamed
it's a formula error.
Yeah,
Excel.
it's always Excel's fault.
I didn't realize I'd said it like that. It was definitely my fault.
Yeah.
It's a formula. I always say that to people. So Excel will do whatever you want it to do. It just won't
Absolutely.
tell you whether it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. And it's that sort of, that sense checking thing is essential, isn't it? Really, in terms of, because you can it's so uncontrolled Excel if you let it be that it can do all sorts, and that's why it gets a bit of a bad rep, really.
Yeah.
So, my one was first job out of uni, posting $140,000 journal at month end for global reporting, but put a couple of extra zeros in for good measure. So just the 14 million posted on a Friday night, much to everybody's joy, because I had to reverse that at the global level afterwards, which was nice. I've avoided using auto out of office on my email because I didn't want everybody to get this out of office reply. So I thought I'd set up a rule. So I went into Outlook, set up a rule, and that rule pinged somebody who emailed me, which was like a service desk, and the service desk got to ping me back saying, please don't reply to the service desk. And my rule said, hey, I'm on holiday. And that went back and forth for about 7,000 emails until the service desk called the company and asked them to turn off my rule because I was away. So
Brilliant.
Stuff like that. Brilliant. It's good, isn't it? It's good.
So don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Anywho, good stuff. Question of the day. Lovely. Main topic, and Giles, you can kick us off then. We're gonna go a bit general in terms of talking about community.
Yeah.
Whether it be in person, online sources, where do you go, where do you find sort of, like-minded people, solve puzzles, etc. But also conferences and other things like that. What do we recommend? Where's good? Those sorts of things. But Giles, LinkedIn as a source, a community, you've got views.
Oh, I'm so excited I get to do this. I can't believe I've got a
looking at the
platform
timer,
to
just
rant.
so you know.
It's not long, and I've worded this carefully. All right, so I have a dream. That's not the start of my speech. So, all right, LinkedIn for me frustrates the hell out of me. Now, the analogy I'm going to put out there is LinkedIn is like an old friend. And for years and years, this old friend has added lots of value to your life. It's introduced you to lots of other nice people and things like that. And every now and then, today, it still does those nice things. But more and more often, this nice friend of yours does things that you don't like. Sometimes it's small things, like you're walking down the road with your friend and it litters, throws its litter on the street. And you think, I don't like that, but I'm not going to say anything. And then every now and then, it does something that you really don't like kick a puppy. And you think, I cannot stand for this. And you see more and more of this bad behavior all the time. Now, LinkedIn makes this worse because it's starting to reward bad behavior. And in my analogy, it's the equivalent of my friend who kicks puppies getting a community service award for good community support, which I don't like.
They kick puppies, they shouldn't be your friend.
Absolutely. Now, what I would say is that there are levels to the bad behavior. And the worst end now, I just think people are scammers. And these are people that are stealing content. They're leveraging other people's content. They're not crediting them. Rick de Groot just put something out this week of his content being plagiarized completely. And I think it's really unacceptable. So I've written an article about this. I will repeat what I said at the end of my article, which is I care about this because I don't want to be going to events like the Global Excel Summit 2026, 2027, whatever it is, and have to start consciously filtering out, of these speakers, of these top voices, hopefully not MVPs, but, of these people, who's hacked their way to a following and who's genuinely been adding value and doing sort of thought leadership. I'm sick of cheat sheets. I'm sick of the free course links with dodgy links. I'm sick of all the crazy stuff that you can just see the priority is not adding value. It's not sharing content that you're passionate about. It's pure, how can I boost my follower count? So I think we have to call it out, because if we don't call it out, LinkedIn's not going to police it. End of speech. There you go.
Good.
I feel like we should applaud or something. I don't really know.
Can you put fake applause on afterwards?
Yeah, I can play question of the day again.
Yeah, question of the day.
So there you go.
The amount of plagiarism just exploded, and I think as soon as you start looking and reporting and commenting on flagging people who are doing it, then your feed just gets more of that stuff, because LinkedIn goes, "Oh,
yes,
you're reacting to that post, so we'll give you more of that stuff." So yeah, there was a whole bunch. I haven't seen any for a while, but there was a whole stream of just people's books being ripped off, and that's the whole PDF thing is unnecessary. Why do you need to publish a 100-page PDF on LinkedIn? I don't think there's a need for it.
No.
And some of the content on there is, I just basically have accepted everyone who sort of reaches out these days. So I've made a rod for my own back that my connections are just everyone, and I get some real randoms. Nowadays I just delete them as soon as they, within 5 seconds, message me about some marketing thing.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. But there's still, I think LinkedIn for me is still, people are still having to behave a little bit, because it's their name and their picture generally, apart from the completely made up stuff.
Sure.
So it's still a nicer environment than some of the other, like Twitter and other places. It's still a nicer environment, and still get a lot of value from it. But there is, some of the content that's just dished up, not impressed by it.
It's definitely still the best professional network. I found the unfollow button or feature this year, so you can still be connected, but you can unfollow people so that at least you don't see what they post, and that actually has been a godsend. So my feed is less spammy than it used to be, because I've had a few rounds of just like, the moment I see you post something I don't like, I'll unfollow you. So that's helped.
I'll tell you a true story about LinkedIn, and Giles will attest that this story is true. So through LinkedIn, I got to know who Giles was and various other things, and I invited Giles to come and speak to my membership community about financial modelling. And I'd only ever read his name. I'd only ever read it. I'd never heard anyone say it, because it's only ever on LinkedIn. So I introduced him as Giles Marley, because there's no way. There's got to be an accent or something a bit more continental about that name. And his eyelid went up, and he looked quite strange. And I was like, what's up, Giles? He's like, that's not how you say it. It's just Giles Mail. And I'm like, what? No, it's got to be something better than that. So, so you get to know these people, but equally you don't know how to pronounce their names. And even sometimes you even meet people in person. A few weeks ago, I met some people in person who I knew on LinkedIn, and I didn't associate their physical person with their LinkedIn profile whatsoever. And it wasn't until afterwards I saw them on LinkedIn. I was like, I was talking to somebody who I'd have talked to. I was asked about this and this and this and this, but I didn't, because in my mind they're linked. They're just like a small round circle, aren't they? So, so on LinkedIn, it's a great way to get to know people, but equally, you end up only knowing their circly face, as it were, not really getting to know them personally. So I think the LinkedIn's great for starting things, but then getting to know them personally and going outside of that is where the benefit really comes. Initially, I really like LinkedIn. I've avoided LinkedIn for a really, really long time. Initially, I really liked it. You get to pick up lots of tips and tricks, and there's lots of stuff going around. And then after a while, the same tips, the same tricks, the same things go around on a loop, sometimes by the same creator, sometimes by different people. And it gets to a while that even the content becomes quite stale. Even though there's people posting things every single day, it's the same things day after day, or the same methods, the same techniques, the same tricks. And it's like there's more there, but because it's all got to be short and soundbitey and fit into a post, etc., then there's a limit to how much you can learn. You kind of have to choose where you go and go deeper. And in terms of the plagiarism thing, that just, like, LinkedIn just seemed to allow, I don't know whether they just seem to allow it to happen. And they don't, when someone's sharing a PDF of someone's book, it's like all these people are saying, "Oh, great, thanks, that's great. Oh, thanks for sharing." And so there was one recently where I contacted the person who had shared this book, and I said, I'm sure the author name will be really pleased to know that you're selling these books on behalf of them. They'll happily send you an invoice for everyone that's downloaded it based on the 1,000 likes and the 50 quid on Amazon. They've got an absolute windfall today, so thank you very much. And then they decided to take it down. As soon as they thought they might have to pay for everybody who's downloaded that book, they're like, oh, I'm not doing that.
And it's only the author or the publisher that can actually report it to LinkedIn as copyright, which is ridiculous.
Okay. Yeah,
it's printed with the word copyright on it. It's a book. It's obvious. So it's just why they have to go through that rigmarole as well, and they can't just take it down straight away. I don't know. It just seems.
It just starts to lose some of its value. The top voice thing feels like a bit of a joke, to be honest. I don't know. It's good. It could be so much better. And I genuinely feel like LinkedIn, it wouldn't actually be that hard for LinkedIn to do a hell of a lot more to police it. I don't think it would be. But it's almost like they strategically don't. Maybe they just like any engagement, even if it's controversial. Yeah. I don't know that for sure. One of the bits that's caught me out a few times is the comments on your posts. It goes to relevant. It defaults to relevant and then hides some. So who's deciding that somebody's post is relevant and somebody else's isn't? You have to go to recent to get all the posts. And little things like that, some of these sort of, overly helpful AI type stuff is just like, not a huge fan of it.
Recently on LinkedIn, the AI stuff has gone a bit crazy that no matter what post is about, there's these questions generated by AI at the bottom that kind of picks out themes. Like, you mentioned the word Excel, and it's like this AI thing goes, what are the best tips to use in Excel? It's like, but why have you got this AI thing going on? In some ways, it's detracting from your post, but then also potentially going against what you just wrote in your post, which might be the best practice for how you do something. And it's like, why is that there?
Do you find it LinkedIn helps with lead generation, given you guys are sort of, you run your own businesses and stuff as well? It is a good way of getting your face in front of the right people, the sort of decision makers in business.
I think it gives validity for me. If I'm talking to new clients or customers or people are interested, it's a way to actually look at someone and see that they are genuinely interested in Power BI and that they make comments and that they have knowledge. So it gives a good overview of who you are and it gives a feeling of safety is probably too strong a word, but a reassurance that you are what you're talking about by your comments, interactions, your posts. It gives an added layer of who you are. I don't get too stressed by LinkedIn.
Your point there, Sue's just reminded me, there was a while back, I was watching a course on Power BI. I sometimes just watch random courses on LinkedIn, the LinkedIn Learning, just to see what people are posting.
Yeah.
And there was a course that was really popular to do with Power BI, and it was awful. Right? So, like borderline, sort of,
Wrong.
just wrong and
Yeah.
negligent. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I searched up the presenter who has done a bit of Tableau,
Yeah.
bit of some other stuff. No posts about Power BI.
Yeah. Exactly.
No posts about anything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, before you sign up for a course, look who the instructor is
Yeah.
and just find out about them. And if they're passionate about their topic, the course is probably going to be good.
Yeah.
And if it's just somebody doing a course because, there's a popular course out that they can sell, it's probably going to be BS.
Yeah.
So
and that's where it's a shame for me, because there are lots of really good LinkedIn learning courses. And
definitely.
Somebody that's in our community who's actually he's been a professional footballer for his whole career, and he's now transitioning over to finance. And he messaged me after I ranted about LinkedIn, and he said, thank you for saying this, because as somebody that has no understanding of like what this behavior is, it feels like potluck. You see an influencer or a LinkedIn learning course, it might be amazing, it might be terrible, which is really hard work for the uninitiated into what goes on in this space. But to answer your question about lead gen, absolutely. It's the only reason I'm on LinkedIn, and I'll just post about things that I'm passionate about. Sometimes it's my dog running or what I'm up to on the weekend. So, some people might criticize me for that, but it's honest. And I think people get to know me quite well, and we get most of our leads from LinkedIn, to be honest.
I like to share techie stuff. If I share it and other people share it, that's how I learn different things.
Well, Sue, like, as a great example for you, I said to you just before we started, I started watching one of your meetups from 3 months ago with Melissa. So for anybody that finds Sue through LinkedIn and finds out about her meetups, like, I honestly got halfway through and it was like midnight when I started watching this. That meetup was so good. Like, the way she talked through M code and set everything out. There's so much value for anybody finding good content like that, like your meetups.
Yeah, meetups are brilliant. We had a fab one yesterday. Juliana Smith, who's quite new to presenting, all about project data, P6 Primavera project data, and she just explained it in such a great way.
Nice.
But meetups are good.
For me, on LinkedIn, there was somebody who was gaining a bit of popularity. And as I read their post, I was like, they know nothing. They know absolutely nothing about what they're talking about. Literally, it's like this content is garbage. Eventually, I met them in real life, and they tell me their backgrounds. Like, oh, I'm not your audience. You're not talking to me. You're talking to all these other people. Yeah, what they're talking about is really relevant to the people that they're talking to. But because it just gets sent out to everyone, then suddenly it's kind of like you see it when somebody posts something and then somebody posts something else. You're like, that's not really quite the point that they're making. And then other people jump on making comments. They're like, what someone's original post, everyone thinks that it's related to them. So therefore you end up kind of shaping an opinion as to whether that person knows something or doesn't know something, or whether that content is relevant. And actually, often the things that people are posting are they've got a different audience or a different technical level. So in terms of LinkedIn, I've decided that you have to decide who you're talking to, and therefore just keep trying to talk to those people. And there's other people that be like, oh, you shouldn't use this method, you shouldn't use that method, you should use a database for this, you should use a database for that. It's like, yeah, but if I could get a database, I'd use a database. But I'm talking to the people who are the end users, who don't work in IT, who don't have this and don't have that.
Yeah.
And so therefore it's kind of I've just got to keep trying to help the people who I want to try and help. And through that, if people come to YouTube, if people join my programs, if people don't, I'm absolutely fine with that. I've just got to keep trying to help the people that I think I can help. And that's the goal with LinkedIn. No matter what that happens in terms of business or anything else, you should think, who do I want to help, and just keep going for it.
We had at times we have taken advice from different marketing people for Full Stack. So Miles and I have sat down and listened, and there's been a few times where we've had the advice saying, like, you need to create 5 SEO keyword heavy articles a week, and it needs to talk about this and this and this. And every time Miles and I just look at it and go, yeah, but we don't want to. Like, I don't want to get up every week and be like, I have to do this because it's a marketing target. It's like, if I've got something interesting that I want to talk about with Excel, I'll post about it. Otherwise, I'll just show you a picture of my dog, and if you don't like it, I guess some people will unfollow me as well.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Do you
That LinkedIn rant wasn't too bad, was it? What was that, like a 6 out of 10 on the angry scale? I thought it was quite passionate but controlled.
It was,
that was quite good.
Thanks very much.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
What about Twitter side of things? Is anybody using that? I find Twitter really useful just for learning stuff and finding people's quick posts and blog posts and other things.
Interesting.
I stick religiously to the following section on Twitter. You can go to following or for you, which is just what the AI thinks you should be watching, which is just trash basically. And then you can actually, I haven't really needed to do this yet, but you can block words and stuff like that. So if you don't want to follow a certain topic, you can block those words and things. So you can curate the content. You know, I'm just following techie people. If the techie people start talking non-techie stuff, I generally mute them or block words that they're talking about. And then I just get a nice curated feed. So I quite like Twitter from that point of view.
I use Twitter for running. There's about 46 of us that are data people, and we all post what we've been doing. So that's quite fun. It was Nikki that introduced me to that.
What about forums and things?
For a while, but then I was on Twitter for a while, for about 3 or 4 years, and then it just got, again, it's almost a bit like LinkedIn. You get the same things that keep coming up, and there isn't a lot of progress with it. And eventually it's like, if I log in, I know I'm going to see the same 17 different versions of the same 17 things I saw yesterday or the day before, and you just start to get a bit of fatigue about it. So I haven't used Twitter, or X as it's now known, in the last few years. Maybe I'll get LinkedIn fatigue and then go somewhere else, and then somewhere else, and who knows. But I think that's you end up getting a bit tired of seeing similar things, and because all these AIs are creating the fact they keep serving up things that they think you're interested in. After a while, they serve up stuff that you're just a bit bored by. So I think that's a challenge for their algorithms.
Yeah.
The content that comes through from me on LinkedIn is now so scattered that I can't really focus on anything. Whereas with Twitter, because I've deliberately followed 200 people, I'm just getting their content, and it sort of is a bit more focused, and I find it easier to find useful stuff that way, rather than LinkedIn is just like a barrage of stuff to me now. It's just a bit crazy. I've also tried out Blue Sky and Mastodon, those two, which are quite quiet still, but they're not as spammy as Twitter and stuff. So you can really curate who you're following. Yeah, Blue Sky got set up by the bloke who left Twitter, and then he left that as well. So, and then Mastodon was another sort of, I can't remember what the term is. It's federated or something like that. So nobody actually owns it. It's all running on people's computers around the world. So, yeah.
I use YouTube a lot.
More.
Yeah, YouTube's good.
YouTube's great, but again, a little bit like you, I've got quite a filtered list of people that I follow, so it's generally good content.
Yeah. So what about in-person stuff? Conferences. What conference is unmissable, or what would you recommend? So I did have a question of Neville Zammit. We got a listener.
Yeah, one.
First shout out.
Hi, Neville.
So yeah, what conferences should they attend if they get in sort of? I think they mentioned they've been to SQL Bits, but Giles, you got
SQL Bits.
Yeah, the Global Excel Summit. I've got to give a shout out to the Global Excel Summit. Mark, you were there with me this year. It's going to be face to face again in London next year. It's a great event, and we had loads of great speakers there, and you get to mix with lots and lots of passionate Excel people. So you can get, I don't know what they call it, but there are tickets available now for the face to face event in February next year. So couldn't not give a shout out to the Global Excel Summit.
Yeah, I think I just saw on LinkedIn somebody had just bought their ticket.
Yeah, they would have done. Just started.
Yeah, 40% off. Not that I've got any
the
connection with
blind
this at
sale,
all.
because you don't know who's
That's
talking.
it. The blind sale.
Yeah.
Any other conference? What about Excel Days, Bulgaria?
Excel Days is
I
good.
went to that one. Went to that. That was good.
Boreana's
Yes.
present
So I met
session.
Christian.
That's been going a few years now.
And Alan Murray. Christian and Alan Murray.
Oh yeah. Any
Sequel
others?
Sequel bits.
Sequel bits.
Sequel bits.
That was in March this year.
March. Oh, it's just such fun. Love it.
Laugh. As I was
When you say fun, what do you mean? Fun because everybody's talking about sequel in a
well,
nice
no,
way?
it's all
It's very
data.
Power BI-ish.
It is sort of Power BI-ish and data and SQL, but it's the most inclusive conference ever. They put so much effort to making sure that everyone is made to feel welcome.
Awesome.
They have running, so we go running. I went running with a couple of, Marco Rosso and a few others, and I met Win. And we have we have every evening there's an event. So we played board games, which was fun. And then they have a big party.
Bit of a disco, bit of a party.
Bit of a party.
That sounds fun. Okay.
Yeah, it's the learning. I mean, I haven't mentioned the learning. The learning is brilliant. Everyone that presents is pretty much top of their game. It's highly.
How many people go to Sequel Bits? It's big, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably a couple of thousand.
Yeah.
1,000 in
Over
person.
the 3 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's huge.
Okay, that's huge.
It's a massive room.
It's huge,
Massive
but
rooms.
it's the people that organise it. It's just about trying to make everyone that wants to go as welcome as they possibly can. Childcare, quiet space, loud space, just everything to just chill and enjoy being data people and having fun.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Data
Scotland, Data Cayley.
Right. Data Scotland.
Data Cayley in Dublin was good fun.
Right. What time of year is that?
That was about a month or so ago. So that was in Dublin. That was good.
Yeah.
That was really good fun. And then Data Scotland's coming up in September. So that's in Glasgow. That's free. Data Cayley was free. That was at Trinity College.
I know there's
did you go
September.
on
There's the
Power BI
Fabric
cruise?
Conference.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Power BI cruise. Oh,
There's a Power BI cruise.
Have you been on that?
I did go on it.
Is that good?
That was
bit rough?
brilliant. No. We went to. It started in Copenhagen, and we got on a big cruise. It's not a cruise ship; it's a ferry ship. But at the top, it had conference space. So in the morning we had, and it was really high tech, excellent sessions from leading people. Then the boat sailed to Oslo, and we had dinner, and so it was only small. There's about 70 of us, so you really get time to interact and to meet some of your heroes. And then so it was like 12 or 13 degrees in Copenhagen, and went running. Then went to Oslo, and I met up with three of the guys from Copenhagen, and so we went running in Oslo, and it was -1 degree, but such fun. And then came back and had conferences on the way back, and came back into Copenhagen. So that was just brilliant. Really, really enjoyed it. But whatever conference you go on, it's about meeting people, isn't it, with a shared interest and just having fun.
It does make a massive difference just having that face-to-face couple of conversations with people. Just huge.
Yeah.
We all probably forgot that a little bit, didn't we? I felt that coming away from the summit, the Global Excel Summit this year. Like it really does make a difference when just not talking to people through a computer screen, albeit that's all we're doing. At some point we should do like a live face. We'll have to find ourselves in the same. So basically you should come here, Win, because that's way easier.
Who's here in March?
I want to go to Australia.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I want to go to
Actually,
Australia.
We can all fly over.
There is Hopkins was talking about a conference, wasn't she?
Yes, I'm not sure how much I can say, but there is a conference planned for the end of next year.
2026.
That's all I'm saying right now. 2025. Yeah. October 25 is the preliminary date for an Australian conference.
I'd love that.
So,
Yeah.
I'd love that.
So we'll just probably be heavily Power BI leaning, but I'm trying to squeeze some Excel stuff in there as well.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Definitely.
That'd be great.
And then in terms of other conferences, like Reza Rad hosts one in New Zealand and Australia called Definity. So if you're based over there, Reza's is always good. He also does the online Power BI Global Summit, I think it's called.
Global Summit, I think.
Yeah. And then there's a Power BI Microsoft one hosted this September, Fabric Conference Europe.
Yeah, that's in Stockholm.
That was in Vegas last year. My colleague went to that one. It's a good trip.
And
that was straight after the MVP Summit in SQL Bits. I know a few people who did all three, the trifecta. They flew to the US, then they flew to UK, and then they flew back to the US for 3 conferences in 3 weeks. That's insane.
I don't think
if you wanted to, you could basically just fill your calendar, by the sounds of it, traveling the world, attending conferences, which doesn't sound bad, by the way. It cost me a lot in doggy daycare, but that sounds pretty good.
It's tiring. 2 weeks is enough for me.
Yeah, SQL Bits. But so this year, I think it's the MVP Summit in Seattle, and then Vegas is straight after. So, because I'm a new MVP, it'll be my first time going to Seattle. So,
very good.
Are you going this year?
I won't. I don't think I'll be going in March. I don't
know yet.
It's a long way off. Long way off. Congratulations on getting renewed.
Oh, well done. Well done, you too.
Always nervy. So what else? Any other advice about like conferences and things and just attending? And just go. Don't think about it. Go. Say hello. Say hello to random people, because everyone's just in the same boat as well.
Because everyone's in the same boat.
It's really awkward, right? Just standing there waiting, chatting, and just going, "Hi, where are you from?" But honestly, no one takes offense, and everybody's happy to chat. Yeah. So just go up and start chatting to people.
But there's live meetups happening all the time, so you can. So yours is online, isn't it?
Yes.
I think when your meetups in person, there's the London Excel meetup, there's Power BI meetups in London. There's lots of stuff happening all over the place.
Yeah.
There's a Southampton Excel meetup. There's stuff there's live stuff happening all the time. So it's kind of you've just got to find out where it is. You don't have to wait until the next big conference to get your fix of meeting people and getting advice. So that's
where I met you, Mark, isn't it? At London Excel meetup.
Yes.
Alan Murray's.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm presenting at Manchester and in Newcastle later on in the year. So in Scotland in September, Manchester in November, and Newcastle in October, which are all free meetups.
It's good. I saw you. I've signed up for your one, and then I realised it's 1 a.m. when you're presenting in Canada, Sue.
Oh yeah, for Ken.
At Ken Pulse's meetup session. Like, I'll watch Sue. Click, and then it goes. The invite comes through the meeting thing. It's like 1 a.m. It's like, I'll watch a recording.
Watch the recording. Tablet editor. I'm presenting on.
If you could. Oh, sorry, go on, Giles.
I was going to say, just because you mentioned Ken, I bought Monkey Tools a while ago, and I've still, it's just because I do less actual modeling now, I've yet to use it consistently in anger, but I hear amazing. I know I've tried little bits, but it's one of the most highly regarded add-ins out there, isn't it? I need to block some time out for that.
Yeah.
I think he started to do some courses on how best to optimize usage of it.
Awesome.
So the sort of guy Ken is, right? So I think he asked me something about Monkey Tool, or whether because I hadn't used it for ages, or he'd sent me a link and I hadn't used it. And then I went onto his website and I said this was a year or two years ago, and I said, your website's a bit crap. It looked really, it looked like something from the early 90s in terms of like downloadable software from and he took it well, and like honestly 48 hours later he just had this amazing looking he just I think worked non-stop. I thought geez. So now it looks good and professional, and he sort of branded it properly and all that sort of stuff. So it lives up then to the actual quality of the product, whereas I think his advertising was letting him down a little bit. So I
went to one of his courses in Excel Boreana's in Sophia, the course you mentioned, the Excel conference.
Oh yeah,
and he was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
yeah.
So anything to do with Excel and data modeling, then he's.
So those sorts of folks, I didn't really know what an MVP was when I got approached to be an MVP, and when I started, but I'd read M is for Data Monkey, and I'd read, I think I'd read Matt Allenton's book at the time, the DAX one as well.
Yeah.
And I'd been listening to Mr. Excel podcasts and all this sort of stuff, and I was like, oh, that's who these people are. I think some of Oz's stuff I'd seen as well on YouTube. Like, oh, that's what. Oh, right, they're all. And then you sort of suddenly get to chat to these people and meet them and do all this sort of stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Ken and Matt were one of my first ones that I started working through. Just they've got a really
Rob Colley.
Oh, Rob Colley
back in the day, doing the DAX stuff and the Power Pivot stuff. So that's.
I remember reading his book on a plane or something and just feeling like I found my tribe. Because he's just that data gene and the questioning and the business and the Excel, and his book is just pivotal, really, for me.
Yeah, I think as well it made me. It's totally random, going off topic now, but the sort of sentences or the paragraphs in that book where it just said, you're an Excel person, you are valid in what you are doing in terms of data, because there was a bit of a feeling like if you were working in Excel, you're not doing it properly. You should be using these tools, and you should be, building these big BI platforms, and they're the proper things. And one day Excel will be got rid of. And then it was just like, this is the proper stuff. This is people creating reports in Excel is the proper stuff, and it's the proper way to do it. It's just like, oh, right, great. Somebody's written that down officially.
And he makes you laugh. The way that the book is written, it's full of humour. So it's highly helpful technically to understand it. It makes you feel like you belong, but it's also quite funny. So
Indeed.
Is it a secret that we're bringing on an MVP guest for the next episode? Are we keeping that under wraps, or are we?
No, make the announcement.
Sowing the seed. TikTok legend Deb Ashby, and YouTube as well. So Deb will be on in whenever it is, when the next episode.
2 weeks. 2 weeks time.
To talk to us.
Trying to do 2 weeks.
Which would be awesome. Yeah, first guest. I was actually with her face to face. We met up in London and did like a work day together. So yeah, it'd be good fun to have her on.
Very cool. I think we'll try and cover off things like content creation, ideas, sort of training as well, because she do training courses and things.
And I'm sure she'll talk. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but yes, she does, and she's doing a lot of it at the moment. I mean, the cadence and the quality of content is from people like Deb is pretty awesome. So yeah, it'd be good to pick her brains a bit.
Cool.
She's running London Marathon as well in March.
She is. She was supposed to this year, but she was ill. She got COVID.
Sorry, Win.
Maybe I'll just drop off that one. You guys have a chat. I think Mark pulled her up on LinkedIn having a dog as well.
Yep.
So a dog.
So you are in the minority, Win.
Right. Do any of you play musical instruments? I'm clutching at straws here. Things that I can do.
No.
I play guitar.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Lovely.
Are we starting a band? When I was a teenager. Yeah, I played violin and piano.
There you go.
And then I hit 18 and never did it again. Ish.
Yeah, just maybe
took up Excel instead.
Yeah, that's it.
Took up Excel because it was more exciting.
What's your instrument?
Yeah. What's that, mate?
What's your instrument?
Piano, guitar, and then harmonica when I'm sort of just messing about.
There's definitely
all based on her background.
Who?
What?
Sue. We know Sue must play the piano because her amazing grand piano that she has in her background.
Yes, which we must make fun of Deb next week because she thought your background was real, as I did when I first saw it. So
not mine.
There's a nice grand piano background there on Sue's virtual background. It looks does look realistic.
It's quite nice, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right then. So I think that about wraps it up. Any other bits and pieces, or should we catch up with everybody in 2 weeks' time?
Let's do that. It's been a pleasure
Awesome.
again.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
folks.
You'll enjoy
Enjoy
it.
the rest of your day.
Yes.
Catch everybody
Have
later.
fun.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.